Would you like to see Cities Skylines with 5 different builders? Are you excited when their cities get choked with traffic? Hi, I'm Lee, and I'm the 4th bee in this season's 5B1C, or something like that. Never mind, just watch. Welcome back to Port Concord. We've got ourselves a little bigger city this time going on, about 52,000 sims, and we have large towers downtown that have even gotten larger in the last round. So let's take a quick look at everything that's going on around the city, and we will just catch you up in case you've been missing out on what the other creators have been up to. So our waterfront is almost completely developed from all the way over here all the way across to about here. Starting off with Imperial Jedi, he built a mall last round over here in this neck of the woods, and then added a beach. And then Tim Meister, during my last run, had added this nature preserve here that we see. Not really sure who added this development down here, but that big blank spot next to Boulevard Park is now filled in with some nice high-density residential. And then downtown has bigger towers and a more sophisticated waterfront. Overcharged Eggs Entertainment District with Inferia Terminal still live on, and they're joined by, I believe Zardus added some of this over here, more industry in the trackside development. And then Overcharged Egg in the last round added a Scar to the Earth. This is a very well hidden, at least from downtown, on the side of this mountain. If you're over here, you don't even know that exists. You're thinking, oh, what a lovely town. And then you go to see the other side, or you see it from the waterfront, and you're like, ah, what happened? Well done, Overcharged Egg. Got a nice Emerson pit here, so that's working out. And then more industrial development here. I think Overcharged Egg added some of that, and I think Zardus may have added some of this. Egg built us a village right over here, and then Overcharged Egg surrounded it by a big giant suburb on the side of this mountain here, which that is a serious hill. And I imagine the views are pretty good from there. Then this was added in the last round by me. That's the Pigeon Lake Industrial Park. Not a really huge addition, but one that was important at the time to add some more jobs, which we are going to look at here in a second. Dale Farm's gotten a little bit bigger, but Zardus was very smart in adding a rail terminal here that is making traffic so it doesn't back up onto the highway. So definitely a lot better flow going on over here. Then as we find our way out to the other side of town again, Overcharged Egg added a very well placed, because of the convergence of all these highways here, a very well placed intercity bus terminal right here next to the interchange. And then Imperial Jedi made a good stroke of adding this road that runs right along through here and connects both sides of the highway. So now we have a lot more access than we did in the past. So that is definitely improving traffic through there. I didn't think it was too bad to begin with, but you know, an improvement is definitely an improvement, so I'll take it. Anyway, so that's what we're looking at. One last thing that we also have, this is a little less obvious. It took me a while before I spotted this, but the 17th Street now has a full interchange, and we're going to talk about that in a second, because I have some ideas on that. Also, Biffa came in here, and none of the things that he did were really super obvious except for this roundabout right over here on Concord Boulevard at Pullman Street. But he also ripped out all my time traffic lights on Main Street and Concord Boulevard. As you can see, the traffic, as you may have seen, Biffa's traffic fix worked great at the time, but things change rapidly in Port Concord, as they do in most cities. And so the traffic fixes aren't really holding super duper well. Main Street's doing okay, but I think that might be just about the same, probably the result of Zardus adding a 17th Street interchange here as much as anything else. But right over here, we've got a serious amount of traffic going on here because of this ramp here at Concord Boulevard on the Cross Bay Highway. Now, I just want to start out by saying that this video is going to have some pretty brutal traffic fixes, and it's going to have some rather candid criticism and praise. I mean, as you've heard, I've pointed out some good developments that I've seen and things that I like already. And I'm also going to point out some things that I don't like. Now, I'm not trying to sound like I'm the only one who knows how to play Cities Skylines. I know better than that. There's a lot of things I am not expert at. But one of the things that I am pretty good with is traffic. And there's lots of different traffic philosophies out there. I think most people are pretty familiar with the way Biffa likes to solve traffic. But it might not be familiar with some of the tricks that I have. And, some of the other things that the other creators have done certainly affect traffic flow throughout the city. So you're going to hear both praise and criticism, and I'm going to criticize some of my own decisions as well, because I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? So I'm certainly not above that. But I'm going to be very candid in this episode, so please bear with me. I'm not trying to bash your favorite creator any more than I'm trying to bash myself. Just trying to grow and learn from what we've seen so far. One of the big things that we want to avoid when we're working in traffic, especially with highways, is you do not want to ever have things clog up to your system interchanges, and that's where your highways meet each other. So this is a system interchange right here, and we've got a backup coming from this service interchange right here at Concord Boulevard that is seriously messing up traffic. Now, one of the things that I also want to point out is that somebody expanded capacity here, added 2 lanes, made this a 2-lane ramp. That's nice. I don't feel like this is really solving any problems. It's really just kicking the can down the road and making a very short merge right over here. Speaking of short merges, we're going to come back to that in a second. We have some right here, and that's definitely hurt us in the past. And I'm going to add another one. But this 17th Street interchange is one I'm not really 100% a fan of. First off, I don't think it's completely necessary. I think that we were able to make it work with Main Street in the past, and I think with some changes to zoning and land use, I think we could make it so that we might not even need the 17th Street interchange in the future. We'll see. But the problem that we have here is that this interchange has cars merging on, and they've really got to move over, as you're seeing right here. They got to move over 2 lanes just to avoid getting caught up in this ramp leading into the system interchange and onto the inlet highway, which is going to cause serious problems because they'll be going in completely the opposite direction of where they want to go and have to go all the way around through town. That's bad. So realistically speaking, that's not good, but Sims are actually probably worse at changing lanes than people in real life are. So it's definitely important to pay attention to that. Now, this here in the other direction, this is an even worse situation because we've got people coming on from the left, which I will say is not the best move on my part to have a left entrance, but this is a mountainous area. Sometimes you don't get to pick as much, but you can pick where you locate some of your service interchanges, especially if they didn't exist when you built the system interchange. So this is forcing everybody to get over 2 lanes and then exit over here to get on 17th Street. Thankfully, the ramps between Inlet and Cascade highways are not heavily used, so we're getting away with it right now. I am seeing, though, there are more cars going on to the Inlet highway from Cascade, not so much seeing it in the other direction. We've also sort of jammed ourselves up a little bit here because now 17th Street is not a very direct connection to the highway. So if you're coming from the intercity bus terminal, we're seeing a lot more buses coming through here and having to go through the city. Some of that was by design, but that was because I didn't expect there to be an intercity bus terminal. Had I known this was something that was a possibility in the future, and it is a smart place to put it, I would have very likely tried to fish a road through here. I did leave that as a possibility. This is a really high level bridge right here. We could easily fish through a street and make it so that those buses could get on and off the highway right here, but not with 17th Street. And 17th Street has ramps leading into, entrance ramps leading into exit ramps It's always going to create weave areas, and those are always dangerous in real life. And they're very prone to traffic jams because people really panic when they know they have to move over very fast. So while this does definitely make auto traffic a whole lot easier to deal with, I'm not really a fan of the 17th Street interchange. So the other thing I want to point out is that Main Street, yes, this is a perpetual traffic jam. But why is it a perpetual traffic jam? Well, it's because we've got all these intersections, bang, 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 and left turns galore. So you want to get, if you're coming down from Bayview, you want to make a left to get into this little development, which is very small, but it needs a left turn cycle so that you can get into it. Then you've got one at the hospital, you've got one at the highway interchange, and you've got another one at the other end of the highway interchange, and then you've got more people who want to turn left to come down into this part of downtown. And then 17th Street, it allows you to get across and shortcut all that, whether you've got the interchange there or not. So that's why 17th Street Bridge, smart. 17th Street interchange, not sure. Not sure I like that. So then going the other direction, Biffa certainly simplified things. I actually really liked the move of eliminating the Dale Drive connection, because that really wasn't helping things at all at this interchange. It was definitely backing things up. He eliminated another left turn here at Redwood, and on the left turn, this left turn here at Valley Drive is the only one that's left now. Besides, well, there is actually still a left turn here at Daleview Parkway. So we still have a number of left turns to contend with. So that's why this area is still very slow getting through. It's especially slow because we don't have coordinated traffic lights through here. I don't necessarily know that we need to coordinate this one, but these ones are too close together. They need to be coordinated, and yes, I believe that still needs to be a traffic light just because it's so close to other traffic lights. And it has just enough traffic on a main thoroughfare that we should just give it a little opening to get the traffic out. Having these timed traffic lights, which by the way, let's take a look at the timed traffic lights that we have here. I believe they're all quick setup traffic lights. Not a huge fan of that, and I'm going to show you why even more so in a second, but I almost feel like vanilla traffic lights are probably better, especially in the case of four-way intersections. T-intersections, you get away with it. They work okay. But you still have problems because if they're not coordinated, well then, you know, what's the point? So quick setup traffic lights, I'm with Acruis, and I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, I'm so sorry. But Acruis pointed out that if you're going to go with timed traffic lights, then, commit yourself. Don't just go with the quick setup. What's the point? Because quick setups only really help with one thing, and that's protected left turns, or protected right turns if you're right-hand drive. All right, so over here at the Cross Bay Highway and Concord Boulevard, the problem we have is that Biffa added some quick setup traffic lights here, and then I don't know who added Ashton Street in here, but that is really killing us. But not so much because everybody wants to get on Ashton Street, it's because nobody can get off Ashton Street. So it actually would probably function better to put in a new four-way quick setup traffic light. At least then people could get off of Ashton Street. The problem is that's going to take away even more time from cars going down Concord Boulevard and trucks trying to get off of the highway, which is most certainly going to back up our entire highway system. Now, I know that at the end of my last round, I had this interchange and this entire area functioning very smoothly because of the way I had the lane assignment set up and the timed traffic lights coordinated. Now we don't have that happening. So what is the deal? What caused this to get so bad? Because honestly, this has been a new source of frustration. First off, I built this interchange in the first round, and then it got backed up really bad by the time we came around, and that was because of all this extra development that was added here and some densification that happened along 2nd Street. So then I had to unclog it again. Then more was built in this neighborhood, and actually the biggest change that happened that made it so that Biffa really needed to rethink this whole area, and add this roundabout was this road right here. Let's take a look at traffic routes. I'll show you exactly what I mean. And this is where things are going to start to get brutal. We don't care about pedestrians, cyclists. We don't really care about public transport and cargo because we can move that anywhere we want. And city service vehicles, they're just going to roam the city as it is anyway. So the ones that we can influence but not necessarily control are private vehicles and trucks. So let's look and see where everybody's coming off of that ramp and trying to go. We do have a number of trucks who are trying to deliver downtown and in the Butler Square and the trackside area, or maybe trying to return to trackside, and all through Oak Point on that side of the waterfront right there. They are coming from both directions. Most of the trucks are coming from the Cascade Highway. It looks like for the most part, no, we've got a fair number of trucks that are trying to go out here. Some of them are going down Pullman Street, some of them just slightly up Concord Boulevard, but a lot of them are also trying to go into Green Park and over to Emerson Pit in that neck of the woods. So let's see here. I'm not sure if anybody's coming off Cascade Highway and trying to go that way. No, they're not. So that's good. Now in the other direction, because let's be honest, this is definitely, well, I know actually, let's try that one. Yeah, so we still have a whole lot of cars and trucks trying to get through this area, and a lot of them are coming from that direction. Check this way, it's even worse, coming across that Cross Bay Bridge. And then if we take away private vehicles, we have a few trucks, but a lot of it's private vehicles. In other words, cars. People commuting either to move into the town, move out of town, or maybe to visit, tourism. They're commuters going to work. There's all sorts of things going on there. So this is really just an illustration of how induced demand works, really. When we build roads and add more possibilities for people to get places, then people will use them. And development will occur in those areas. Like trackside, I don't think would have probably drawn as much attention. The vacant land's been there a long time, but add that interchange, expand the capacity of the interchange, and you're going to get more development. Now, this road here, I feel like, is a huge problem because it is drawing all of the traffic that would want to go into Green Park and the Crescent District and even to Green Hill, which I find very counterintuitive, and some of Pigeon Lake, for that matter. It's all going through this one interchange because this road shortcuts Concord Boulevard and Broad Boulevard over here. When the reality is I'd really like to see everybody coming in from Broad Boulevard off of the Cascade Highway. There's no reason why that isn't a logical way to get there, but you don't see anybody doing that from the Cross Bay Highway at all, which, makes sense if you've got this shortcut. So when I initially laid out Pigeon Lake, the whole idea was that Broad Boulevard would go around the mountain here and lead to the open valley and allow for development through here. Well, that mission was accomplished. But Concord Boulevard was never supposed to be a huge thoroughfare, a main one, sure, but it was not supposed to be handling all the traffic that Pigeon Lake would be pulling through. And there certainly wasn't supposed to be a road that was going to cut across the mountain and shortcut over to the Cross Bay Highway. So what we're going to do, because we want them to use Pigeon Lake, I mean, yes, there's a lot of traffic going through here, but it's nothing compared to what we're seeing right here. That's way heavier use. And that's not designed for that. Worse yet, this area was already pretty well at capacity when I touched it last and when Biffa touched it, for sure. So we don't want to add more cars, we want to get less. So this is going to be addition by subtraction. And we're going to just take out a segment right there on Green Street so that Concord Boulevard and Broad Boulevard are the way you get into this area and not a shortcut that requires this big giant roundabout and a breaking up of the bicycle network. Now, I'm not going to touch anything else over here that I haven't already touched. I did rearrange some of the lane assignments because it is moving a little bit better than it was before. Some of the right turns are actually getting through. I've experimented by having 2 left turn lanes here. That has not helped because everybody wants to turn left for the most part, and they want to go turn left on Trackside Road, or they want to come down here to the roundabout. They're going to stay on the inner lane to do that. So yeah, it's sort of a mess, but I think it'll get better as we do other things. I am going to bring back the time traffic lights in this area because I really feel like they're essential to getting things through. Might make some more brutal changes by changing up the way some of this works, but that might not happen in this episode necessarily. But we are going to keep an eye on it. Where we're going to focus, though, is over here on Main Street. So I've added a new neighborhood called Pine Hill next to Dale Hill. And if we take a look at land value, we can see some different things that are interesting and insightful on the development of our city. The Briarwood district is lighting up bright green. 80 credits per square meter is the value over there. Pacific Hill's pretty high, 73, that's nice. Port Concord downtown, 71 credits per square meter. Concord Place is at 76, so that's doing pretty well too. A lot of that's because of the access to the parks and also transit. But we do have a bit of a desert going on over here at Pine Hill, and that is only at 61 credits per square meter. And then Dale Hill is sort of the redheaded stepchild of downtown. It got isolated by the highway, and it is isolated from the rest of downtown. Isolated from the rest of downtown by the highway. So 55 credits per square meter next to Bayview, which has some pretty high dollar districts. 67 credits per square meter. That's not too bad, considering some of this area is a little less well off than the central part here around Bayview Park. So, what are we thinking here? Well, I'm thinking Pine Hill, which, by the way, just seemed like a logical name because there's a hill at the end of Pine Street, so that's cool. So Pine Hill is a little bit underserved when it comes to a lot of things. We don't have a park. We have Cheese Park, but it's not super developed in order to raise land values over here on Pine Hill. And Dale Hill doesn't really have a park other than Bayview Park. There's also, it's low density development. So there's a couple of things I want to point out with the zoning pattern here, and then I'm going to show you transit. So the zoning pattern here, we've got huge swaths of residential, high density right here, but we don't have a whole lot in the way of jobs. By the way, unemployment is pretty high. Let me show you that, 12%. So we're behind the 8 ball. We got to get more jobs into Port Concord. But we've got these huge swaths of residential. All these people have to take transit, or they have to walk pretty far in order to get to work or to shop. That's not a good situation that we want to see. So there's some opportunities to put in some commercial and office development over here in Pine Hill. The same is true for Dale Hill, and actually it's even worse if you look up the hill. We have a few jobs here around Bayview. We have a few jobs over here in Highland. We don't really have any jobs hardly anywhere else. We've got a few corner shops, and that's about it. Then we've got the college up here, where they probably have some employment up there as well. We also have Dale Farm, which has gotten bigger and has a rail terminal now. So this residential, this kind of country road that Dale Drive has been for so long really doesn't make sense anymore. There's a bunch of developers that are seeing opportunities, and they want to redevelop this as industrial. They want to put office complexes in through here, and they want to connect it to the rest of the city. And Pine Hill only really has, as far as transit connections, this one subway station here and another subway station right up here in Bayview, on the fringe of Bayview next to the hospital. But otherwise, on the top of the hill, we don't have much access. We don't really have any access for Dale Hill at all. It's really, really isolated out here, and I'd really love to connect it to the rest of the city. And I feel like if we ran the tram line somewhere over here through this neighborhood, we could connect it into all of it very easily. So, and have a new loop that runs around downtown in the process. So that would be pretty cool. That's what we're going to work on here today, and we're going to have to spend a lot of time grading roads, and we're going to spend a lot more time even than that, although it's not going to seem like it in the video. We're going to be using the bulldozer. We're not going to bulldoze everything in Pine Hill, but we're going to bulldoze everything in Dale Hill. One other thing too that I want to point out is my indicators seem to be missing. Where are my indicators? There we go. Okay, that's what I want to see. I want to get the indicators in here. I must have toggled them off. All right, so we've got some abandonment that's going on. I didn't even point this out. You probably didn't even see this, but we've got a lot of dead bodies that aren't getting picked up. We've got noise in places where we don't want it. And that's probably because of cars just sitting in traffic. And some of these places are abandoned most of the time because dead people aren't getting picked up by crematoriums because traffic is so bad. This has happened to one of Overcharged Egg's historical buildings. Certainly not his fault per se, but I've never really been fond of this as a location for anything small scale. And honestly, if I remember right, this was set aside as part of Bayview Park originally. Yes, it was. So this whole area here was supposed to be Bayview Park, and only part of it actually became Bayview Park, trying to preserve the sight lines for Highland College over here. Some of that is going to remain, but we're going to rip some of that out. Mostly this stuff over here on this side of the park. And we're going to simplify all the intersections over here, and we're going to create another connection over here. Now, I'm going to attack this with a philosophy called filtered permeability. Since we don't have a lot of transit access in this area, and we don't have a lot of walking access either, I mean, these are pretty, they're not too bad, but they're kind of circuitous routes. We've also got gaps in our bicycle infrastructure. We don't have our dedicated bike lanes like we used to have. We are seeing plenty of bicyclists going up and down Main Street, but I still feel like it's less than we had before at the end of the second round. So anyway, we want to try to simplify access over here on Main Street, get rid of some of the left turns, and get rid of some of the intersections. So we're going to make it much easier for cars to get around, but we're not going to make it the easiest to get around by car with filtered permeability. What that means is we're going to make it easy for transit to get around, we're going to make it easy for bicyclists and cars to get around, but not necessarily cars. So if you live in Dale Hill or Pine Hill and you want to go to work, or maybe you live over here downtown, and you want to go to work in Pine Hill or Dale Hill, well, especially Dale Hill, then you'll take the tram, you'll take the streetcar, or you will walk, or take a bicycle instead of driving your car. That is going to help us with traffic problems all over the city, so that we don't have quite as many problems. It'll be more pleasant to drive. It'll also be more pleasant to get around just in general. First thing we're going to do is get rid of most of what you see here in Dale Hill. In fact, and most of the stuff around the periphery of Bayview. So I'm going to take care of that, and I will be back. We're also going to D-zone some of this area here along 3rd Street and up here in this area. So let these Sims move out. I'm going to start bulldozing some of the infrastructure here because we're not going to need it, and it will be in our way. We're going to move this police station over here for the time being, and remove some of this infrastructure over here too. Okay, so I've already simplified things quite a lot. Now I'm going to pause the game, and I'm going to realign a lot of this because it is pretty off, and I really want to have square grids. I don't think I'm going to have that if I leave things as they are. No, I'm not. So this is what happens when people use Move It. It's just really hard to keep things straight. So that might be why you don't see me using it quite as often, but even when I use it, I cannot keep the lines perfect, especially if I'm not paying attention to them. So I'm going to go through and fix that right now. Alright, so now we're going to use the Network Multi-Tool. Really nifty, awesome upgrade from Electric's Road Tools. So we're gonna use the set slope mode to get a better slope here. 1% is hard to argue with. Now, hopefully, we'll be able to get a good slope going all the way up here to Bayview Boulevard. We've got a few spots, especially down here at the bottom, where it's really steep. Let's just start with that, 5%. That's definitely a little more than I'd like to see. What if we take it all the way to Bayview Boulevard? Well, I don't really want to level this part out. 2.6% is pretty good going into an intersection. Let's go with 4.5. That's a little better. All right, so we'll stick with that. That makes it so that my highway interchange is not super elevated over here. Now I need to make sure my node is in the right place to get the bridge where I want it. It's 26 units across. I'm going to move that node a little bit. Yeah, should be a better place for it. That looks a little better. Okay, now let me fix the street names and the intersections. Let me fix the lane arrows here. Okay, now we've definitely isolated the hospital here. We want to fix that right away. Let's get a street. It used to be a 90-degree angle. Don't know what changed to make that different, but all right. So now, where do we want to have our intersection? We're going to have one intersection between this end of the interchange and roughly here. So we're going to do that. I think the best move is for us to find a location where we're pretty well flat with terrain. That looks to be about here, right here at this junction, right on the end of the curve. That does seem to be pretty well in the center thing. So we'll build a curved road here. We start right here. Actually, yeah, let's do right here. Then we'll be lined up as well with that cut onto the tram line. All right, so we're gonna flatten this out and we're gonna jack up the hospital. Let's get a node in there so we can set our height to it. There we go. All right, so we've raised the hospital up quite a lot with that. Now let's grade the road. Actually, to make things a little simpler, we're gonna rebuild this segment right here. It is 90 degrees. What do you know? So 3.6% grade going up to this intersection. That's pretty good. That'll work for me. And we won't have this intersection right here. This will help to preserve ambulance access, emergency access without having the intersections being too close together. We'll adjust the terrain a little bit here when we get a chance. Now, one of the other things I need to do here is reconnect Daleview Parkway with Main Street because this is essentially an isolated neighborhood at this point. And the other thing I want to do is I want to bring the tram through. In fact, I think this might be a good time to try to do that. And then we'll reconnect Daleview. It looks like, yeah, so they have to go around through Highland College. That's okay. They're not completely cut off from the rest of the city. This intersection here at Elizabeth Lane is only allowed for emergency vehicles at this moment because of some settings I did here with TMPE. So emergency vehicles are the only ones that can go down Elizabeth Lane, and bicycles and pedestrians, which is great because there is a tram station right there. Tram stop. Okay, so now I want to connect a tram line. I want it to go all the way across over here and over to Pine Hill and down 3rd Street. I have a number of challenges here. This is, as we have pointed out many times, a very mountainous area. So I'm at 32 meters. I'm not sure if that's above sea level. No, it's not. But yeah, we're not going to say above sea level. So I'm at 32.75 meters here at 3rd and Douglas. That's where I want my tram line to come out because it'll connect to the 3rd Street line that already exists and connects to Federal and Prospect Street, as well as on into Oak Point. So I need to get the tram to come in there, and it's 57.37 meters. That's a full, is that 25? Wow, that's 25 meters above. That is a crazy high grade. So 32.8, and I need to cross over here somewhere close by on the Cascade High, which is about, it bottoms out around 47.5 meters right around in here, but it's not too much higher anywhere else, a little over 48. So I need to go from 48 meters to 32.75 meters. That is about 15, 16 meters. That is, well, actually, I needed to be higher than this. I needed to be 12 meters above that. So 12, that's 60. I need to go from 60 down to 32 in a very short period of time. I'm probably going to fudge this a little bit. I'm probably going to go with maybe 58 to 32, which is still really high. That's what, 14? 58 to 32, no, that's 24. So that's quite a drop. We might have to be creative in this. So then So from over here where I'm going to be about 58 meters above, I'm coming down from an intersection right over here that's at about 70. That too is a pretty big drop, but I've got a lot more flexibility. I actually want to go lower than that because right here I have to go under Main Street, which is at 73 meters. So I need to drop significantly just to get under Main Street. That's going to be fun. And then, so I'm going to be about 62 meters, 61 meters, somewhere in there. And I'm going to have to be down here at about 58 meters. So I'm going to have a pretty flat grade after I get under Main Street. And then I'm going to have the demon drop going down to 3rd Street. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to run that. We'll figure it out. So first off, tunnels. You know that I normally say, ew, tunnels. Why would you build a tunnel there? Like, you know, I'll give you an example of one that kind of makes me think, what? Right here, I would have made a bridge. This is a cool looking tunnel. I won't deny it. But that's not the way they normally build highways. My very first YouTube video was actually about that. So getting realistic bridges and whatnot. Ooh. We'll deal with that in the next couple of videos. So anyway, we want to get a tram running through here, but we don't really want to have a whole bunch of cuts. And we don't really have any reason why we shouldn't maybe use a tunnel right here instead. I mean, we've actually got plenty of clearance for one, I think, right here. So we've got about 12 meters from top to bottom right here. So we could easily add a tunnel right here and run it down. We're gonna have to run it down pretty significantly. So we might have a cut through here at some point, but we're not going to have a tunnel. We're gonna have a tunnel that runs along underneath here to facilitate this connection. This will allow us to create a tram loop through another part of our city that is very underserved by transit and very disconnected from the rest of things. So we can't just put jobs in here and then expect the Sims to want to drive to get there. So let's work on getting that tunnel fished through. So to start, we're going to use a ground segment here, and we're going to use this node right here because it's flat all the way up to, well, it looks like it's flat almost. It actually isn't completely flat here. It looks like it's pretty flat. I don't think it's completely flat at that area, but we're going to take advantage of this anyway. All right, so I need this to drop 12 meters, and it looks like that's about where it is right here. And I don't want to curve this. It is dropping quite quickly though. All right, so check the grade out on this in a bit. Ooh, that's not how I wanted to run that. Oh, that's right. I need to add another node here before I can just run right in there. Give it a little breathing room right here. I had created a segment that I couldn't delete. Okay, that's not what I want yet. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now we've got ourselves a little tunnel entrance right there. The next thing I want to do is make sure that I didn't sever my tram line. No, I did not. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, let me make sure that this is drawn back in like it needs to be. Okay, let's continue that tunnel. All right, we'll pull that out 24 units right there. I'm not really sure that that's going to be completely level though. All right, let's take a look at our grading. How are we doing here? Okay, so we're at about 3.6% running over here. I don't think we need this to be, we could level this out from here on. Let's just see where we are here. Okay, so this gives us an idea of how much we have sunk down below level here, below grade. So I'm not gonna keep it perfectly straight through here. We need to clear Main Street. That's about it. Okay, so we're out from underneath Main Street. Looks like we're a little higher than probably what we probably ought to be here. Let me check the grade on that again. Okay, that's a significant drop inside that tunnel. There's really not a whole lot I can do. It looks like some of this is just going to be what it is because of the grade of Main Street on over top. I can fudge this a little bit, but I don't want to get too crazy with it, or it's just going to get unrealistic. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at, 5.8% grade. That's really steep for a tunnel, a lot worse than I was hoping for. Now, where does this put us height-wise? Pretty deep. Let's see. That seems deeper than it should need to be. I think we can get away with more if we pull the tunnel opening out further. I think we can actually soften that grade up quite a bit. All right, now let's see if we can, okay. So if we raise this any further, it looks like we risk making it even look even worse. All right, so let's check the grade here. Oh, that's much better actually. So 3.5%. How does that look here? Yeah, it's not perfect. It looks pretty good though. I think I'm gonna go with that. I think I'll be all right. So that's what our grade is gonna be for this particular tunnel here. So a little bit of a hump here. I really feel like that's an unrealistically high difference from the bottom of the top of the tunnel to the bottom of the road. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Not much you can do. Okay, so now we need to connect the rest of this neighborhood up, and we need to fish this tram line through. So where I want to put the tram line, let's level out next to the highway here. Let's see if we can find a spot that's about 48. There we go, 48. So right here is where we would want to consider building a crossing over the highway. I think we're going to fudge that a little bit though, just because I don't think that's exactly where I want to put it. I think here would probably make more sense. That's still pretty low, just a little over 48. And I don't know how deep those rail lines are. Hopefully pretty deep. All right, so let's get a bridge that is built over top of the highway here. We're gonna take out some of these streets. Okay, it looks like that's where that rail line goes, so we're in pretty good shape there as far as that. So we're gonna try to get away with 10 meters over this highway, and I'm hoping I won't need anarchy for this. Actually, I need to flatten the other side a little bit. Okay, so that looks like that's gonna fly. We could even go, why don't we try for 9? Yeah, even the vanilla game likes that. Even vanilla's okay with that height, and everything looks pretty natural going underneath there. We don't have any streetlights to run into, so we should be good. So now, let's just do a rough connection here, and just try to keep things straight. Let me get rid of that right there. Okay, did that connect where I want it? Kind of, I think so. Okay, so obviously we could probably pull this tunnel out a little further. Looks like I need to go to ground level road here, just to see where we really are. Okay, so we don't really hit the grade until way late in the game. That's not exactly what I was hoping for. It looks like we're almost flat completely the entire way though. What happens if I connect a road straight across there? That's really cutting deep. That's gonna have a super bad grade to it. So we're gonna be better off going over than under. The other possibility that I have here is I could start increasing the height of the tram. I think that is what I'm gonna do here. What if I got that to terrain height somewhere? Maybe right here? I think so, maybe here. Huh, that's completely flat right there. Interesting. Could go all the way across. Let's not do that though. So 3.5%, that's a pretty reasonable grade. So if this is flat, it's raising things a little bit, but not too seriously. Might be able to go to terrain height up here. Now, some of you are probably thinking, why didn't you just terraform this the way he wants it? Well, I don't know how I want it. I'm trying to follow the terrain as I go here. And I'd sort of like to preserve what's already here. I think that this is going to work out better if I do it this way. Okay, so now it's going to go under Main Street. It's going to ascend back up a little bit, and it's going to come about to the normal terrain height right in here, and then it's going to stay well above We could probably fish Dale Drive right underneath here. This will bring us down nice and low to cross Cascade Highway, which will allow us to go underneath 3rd Street. All right, so now that we have this basic idea worked out, and we have some pretty reasonable grades in the process, and it looks like we can access as much land as we possibly want, let's see if we can, I'll probably move this tunnel around a little bit so that we can connect Daleview Parkway up a little bit better. Wow, that left turn lane is really, really quite something, isn't it? We'll come back to that in just a second here. So let's see here. Let's get this going over here. All right, so I am about 50. This doesn't sound right at all. All right, so if I remember right, I set this at about 58, 57. So I'm going from 57 over here to 32, 33 over here. That is about a 25 meter, about a 24 meter drop. So I'm going to be about halfway through. I'm probably going to be about 12 here. So about 57, I'm going to drop 12. That's going to put me at 45 below here. That's actually a really good height. That will put me out, kick a tunnel out right here. So I could just remove 3rd Street and take this out. And I'm going to take advantage of anarchy here. Okay, that lines up a little too perfectly. We'll do this. There we go. And then we'll do this. Let's see if we can get underneath here. 90-degree connection. Okay, let's get rid of the excess here. And let's grade this and see what our grade looks like. Oh, that's not bad. 6.8%. So we're looking at roughly a 7% grade. Once we get over the Cascade Highway, that's just still quite a drop, but we're not moving the highway, so that's a plus. I think this is going to work. Let's see here. I want to soften that curve out a little bit here, but let's see where we are underneath 3rd Street right here. How deep are we? Looks like we're about 10 meters deep here. And I think we're even deeper over here, much deeper. I want to have a stop. I'd like to get a stop in this neighborhood right here. Yeah, I think that would be a good place for it. Let's see if there are any, there's not really any transit in the neighborhood here. Is there? Yeah, there kind of is. Maybe we could get a stop over here on the other side of the Cascade Highway. I think I'm quite a bit higher than grade over here. Yeah. We could always elevate 3rd Street a little bit. Yeah. All right, so let's add a curve here. I think I might want to go a little bit. Let's make this all, yeah. Okay, so the tunnel entrance, we want it to be one off from the node that is currently. Okay, we're heading into Pine Hill with a bit of a drop here, so let's see what happens when I try to level this out a little bit. That is still incredibly steep, and it looks like we've got quite a rise here too. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. Well, this hill is really something. Let me say, this is really challenging, a lot more than I expected. I'm not sure if I can get this to meet up with the grade here or not. I'd like it to. Whew, that is a rough grade. Okay, 4.2%, I can live with that. 2.2%, I can live with that. Yeah, so since we're going to be redeveloping this neighborhood anyway, it would make sense that we would do something to make this a little bit easier terrain to build on. So what I'm going to do here is try to shorten this tunnel up a little bit so I can squeeze in a tram stop right there. Yeah, that will do the trick, I think. Yeah, the tunnel is really, the tunnel opening is pretty high. Not always keen on the way that works. I don't think there's another way, a better way to do that. So I'm just gonna let that slide reluctantly. We're gonna take out that alley and this alley. I'm not going to raise that any higher. It's already plenty high as it is. And you know, we might even consider, yeah, I think we'll just leave that street there. We'll be okay with that. Okay, so that's what we're going to go with. Let me complete this here. It's still going to be a wild ride. I think that'll do. We're not going to level this out as completely as I might like to. I'm sort of just going to keep this character, the character of the neighborhood as it is. I think this is going to do the trick. So now let's try to connect the rest of the roads over here and clean up this tunnel entrance a bit. So one thing I want to do is I want to bring a road right on down here. And the other thing I want to do, you know, why don't we do that right now, because it is definitely causing problems to not have this connection. Let's add, now by the way, this is going to allow people to walk. We're going to see a lot of people walking over from Pine Hill to connect up over here to this other neighborhood, since that street is now connected. Actually, we probably have been seeing some of it already. People will walk through the tunnel alongside the tram line, just like they did before when we built the Highland line originally. Okay, so let's get an interchange ramp going on here. Now, this is going to create more of those problems that I was complaining about. Like I said, I'm not always proud of my own decisions, and I'm going to make a bad decision right now, mainly because I'm just too much of a bum to try to reconfigure this as a basket weave. Whoops, here we go again. We've gone through a whole other academic year. So we're going to leave this as we really should have this be a basket weave interchange. I'm going to try to leave room for it. I think this here is already a good start. It's going to be tricky to get this in here, but I think there's going to be just enough room to get it by. That temple is going to be probably the biggest problem we're going to have getting that to happen in the future. But these two ramps are actually farther apart. They're not as far as I'd like, but they're farther apart. What I'm going to do now is add another ramp that enters in here, and we're going to have like maybe 2 nodes before it's too late to get a lane change. So let me add that in here, and we'll get a lot better traffic flow coming off Main Street from the hill. So I'm going to go 6 units here. 6, let's just do 4 here, and we're going to regrade this in a second here. I'm going to pull out, maybe we could, instead of getting on right there, we need more runway to get people up to speed. We're going to try that, and we'll use the network multi-tool to create a connection between these 2 segments. We want it to be on the right side here. Oh, that's kind of crazy. We might be better off just doing this the old-fashioned way. Okay, now let's grade it with the network multi-tool. It's pretty steep. Probably going to be steeper than I'd like. Oh, that's not too bad. 4.5% going all the way down. That's not bad. I'll take it. Okay, now let's get it to be the right type of segment here. And now we'll change this dedicated left turn into a dedicated right. No more left turns. That is really going to mess people up. Dedicated left here. We're going to allow left turns out of that lane because it's just going to be emergency use only. We're done here. I only want ambulances to come into this particular intersection, and I don't want... Honestly, I think I might just change some of this into a tram road too. Tram only road at 11th Street, just to cut down on traffic. Like I said, filtered permeability, so you'll be able to get to Garden Terrace and all this stuff over here off of Matlock Place, and you'll be able to get over here through the grid, and you'll be able to get over here from Main Street, but you won't be able to go crisscrossing through the neighborhoods unless you want to take public transportation or something. Yeah, we don't want people turning left here. We want them to turn right there to get on the highway. Might be shorter, but we don't want them taking that route. So we should see a lot better traffic flow. In fact, it looks like it's already doing a lot better than it was. And the intersections are much better spaced. So we shouldn't have a lot of the problems that we had in the past. All right, so now we need to build up this neighborhood and bring in some jobs. I just had to make that one a cliffhanger. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. I hope you saw Imperator's build earlier this week. I'll be back for 2 more episodes where we'll finish these neighborhoods, fix all the traffic, and complete Island College. I want to thank all my Patreon supporters, especially at sponsor level, and thank you for watching. So long!